Afternoon. I'd like to welcome everybody to our council meeting on October 31st at 2:00. I'll call the meeting to order now. And I'll now read the land acknowledgement. Township of Asphodel-Norwood is located on the Treaty 20 Mississauga territory and the traditional territory of the Mississauga and Chippewa nations, collectively known as the Williams Treaty First Nations, which include Curve Lake, Hiawatha, Alterville, Scugog Island, Rama, Beausoleil, and Georgina Islands First Nations. The Township of Asphodel-Norwood respectfully acknowledges that the Williams Treaty Nations are the stewards and caretakers of these lands and waters in perpetuity, and that they continue to maintain this responsibility to ensure their health and integrity for generations to come. And I'll now invite everybody to pause for a moment of silent reflection to prepare for the council meeting ahead as a gesture of respect and contemplation. And I'll now ask council members to declare any pecuniary interest of any matter and to state the interest now or at the time the matter arises. No hands. We'll move on to the agenda. I'm looking for a motion to approve today's agenda as circulated or amended. As circulated, Councillor Walsh. Second by Councillor Ward. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried. I'm looking for a motion to adopt the council minute meeting of the public meeting minutes of October 24th as circulated or amended, and the council meeting minutes of October 24th. As presented, Deputy Mayor Burt. Second by Councillor Grace Hodge. All in favor? That motion's carried. Is there any business arising from the minutes? No? We'll move on to the consent agenda. On to the consent agenda, I'm looking for a motion to approve the Culture and Heritage Committee minutes of October 2nd and 17th as circulated or amended. Deputy Mayor Burt. Councillor Ward. All in favor? Motion's carried. We have no delegations today, so we'll move on to staff reports. R1, Peter Deshane, Manager of Public Works and Environmental Services. Transfers.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you. R1 is regarding the transfer station recycling program and the CMO agreement. So as we all know and heard at the regular council meeting on February 14th through a delegation from County of Peterborough's Manager of Waste Management, that Blue Box recycling will be transitioning to producer responsibility. And this is a result of the Blue Box regulation under the Resource Recovery and Circular Economy Act 2016. This regulation makes producers fully accountable and financially responsible for their products and packaging once they reach their end of life and are disposed. Producers will work with producer responsibility organizations to help them meet their responsibilities under the new regulation. And Circular Materials is the producer responsibility organization working with Peterborough County and a large portion of Ontario. Municipalities throughout the province have begun the transition from or through their Blue Box program as of July 1, 2023, and Asphodel-Norwood is set to transition January 1, 2024 to December 31st, 2025, and that is known as the transition period. The township currently has a township-wide curbside collection service that is operated by Peterborough County. And residents and businesses have the option to bring recyclable materials to the transfer station for disposable. Or for disposal. Goodness, I can't find my words today. Peterborough County provides the bins at the transfer station and coordinates the collection of the materials. And since Peterborough County has completed the curbside collection program in the past, they had the option to opt in or opt out of all services for curbside collection. And Peterborough County Council chose to opt out of those services. Circular Materials has executed an agreement with Emterra for residential curbside collection to continue services throughout the townships within Peterborough County. And that contract term is for 9 years. There is a provision in that contract to include depot collection for any townships that execute an agreement with Circular Materials Ontario. Peterborough County Council has also approved non-eligible sources, commercial, industrial, institutional, to be collected through until December 31st, 2025. It is understood that Peterborough County staff coordinated negotiations with Emterra and Circular Materials to enter into that agreement for the curbside collection of all of those non-eligible sources through the transition period. Given that the township has a township-wide curbside collection program, the transfer station or the depot is considered to be a convenience depot. And under this circumstance, Circular Materials is not required to collect blue box materials from the depot, even though it's eligible sources. And given that, the township has two options to move forward. The township can either opt in to enter into an agreement with Circular Materials to have blue box materials collected from the depot, or the township can opt out, and the township has no responsibility for blue box materials at the depot and is not required to enter into an agreement with Circular Materials Ontario. The result of opting out has not been clearly communicated by CMO, but is likely that it would result in residents not being able to deposit recyclable materials at the transfer station. So following the July 1, 2023 council meeting, staff have been working closely with Circular Materials to form an agreement for the collection of recyclables at the transfer station. The first iteration of the agreement was provided in March of 2023, and staff completed a review of the agreement. The agreement was also circulated to LLF Lawyers LLP for their review and comment. Both the township staff comments and the lawyers' comments were consolidated, and some concerns were highlighted throughout the agreement and included such items as the township being referenced as the contractor. Other items included in the agreement favored Circular Materials, and more specifically in termination and through the change order clauses. There were also clauses in the agreement that had pretty heavy reporting requirements with short timeframes. These were all concerns raised by both the lawyer and the township. Groups of discussions were held with all municipalities throughout the county, and they all concluded and shared the same concerns, and these all were forwarded to Circular Materials. After those comments being forwarded, a second iteration was sent out and received in July of 2023. Similar to the first agreement, staff completed another thorough review and noted that there were some, and that was not circulated to the lawyers at that time. However, Autonomy South Monaghan did circulate the agreement to their lawyer for review. And as a result of all of these reviews, we noted that some initial concerns were addressed. However, the main concerns noted in the first review had not been addressed. And all townships within the county had consolidated these comments and forwarded them to circular materials. Shortly thereafter, circular materials met individually with each township throughout the county and noted that no further changes would be made to the agreement. So under the latest iteration of the agreement, attached to this report, the township will receive payment for recyclable materials collected at the transfer station. There will be a 5.08 reduction of the payment for non-eligible sources as approved by circular materials. The initial iteration of the agreement indicated that there would be a 25% reduction for those materials. However, we were able to prove that it is in fact only 5.08%. So into the financial implications, as per the agreement, the township would receive $21,223 per year, plus CPI adjustment, less deductions for non-eligible sources and or contaminations. And contaminations could be such things as hazardous materials containers and waste and other things like that. These figures are based on depot operations costs and estimated amounts of blue box materials that would be collected. So in conclusion, staff are recommending that an agreement between the township and circular materials be executed for the collection of blue box materials at the transfer station. This approach ensures that residents will continue to receive the same level of service as they currently do. A new agreement will be considered after the after the transition phase is complete. And that concludes this report.
Okay, council, we have a recommended motion that the council of the township of Asphodel-Norwood receives this report for information, and further that the council of the township of Asphodel-Norwood directs the mayor and clerk to enter into agreement with circular materials to provide collection services of recyclables at the Asphodel-Norwood transfer station. Moved by Deputy Mayor Burke, comment, and seconded by Councillor Ward.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Thank you very much, Peter, for the report. Good work in getting them down to the 5.08% from the 25. That's a huge difference. So very good. And so question on that, that's the non-eligible sources. Does that also include contamination sources, or no, that's a non-eligible? Okay. And then approximately how much material is collected at the depot, recyclable materials collected at the depot each year?
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Those are all sent to us through the data call from the county,
Yeah.
And I don't have those numbers right in front of me.
Okay, and I probably got them here too. I just didn't have them at my
Yeah.
fingertips, so that's fine.
Yeah, but it's a lot actually.
Okay.
Surprising how much we get through there.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Councillor Ward?
Thank you, through you, Mayor. I just wanted to ask, you were talking about the bins that the county supplied, and there was a discussion earlier about that. Have we determined if we're going to keep those bins, or are they going back, or we don't know yet?
Thank you, through you, Mayor. So the county owns those bins, and as far as we know, well, CMO is actually responsible for supplying new bins. So whether they've made an agreement with the county to keep those bins or not, we're not really sure. It's not being well communicated as to what exactly is happening, but all we do know is that there will be bins there.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Walsh?
Yeah, through you. Again, thanks, Peter. This has been an interesting topic, and I think we're all learning as we go as to what's going to happen. The one question I had asked, or thought it was, the county council approved non-eligible sources, so the commercial industrial institution will be collected till December 31st, 25. Do we know what may happen after that? No.
No, thank you, through Mayor. Unfortunately, there's a lot of unanswered questions at this time as we go through this. CMO is not forthcoming with that information at this time, so we don't know what's going to happen, unfortunately.
Yes.
The goal, I think, for the municipality would be to continue lobbying the provincial government and the minister to pick up ICI at the beginning of January 2026, so that there doesn't have to be two contracts being managed in every area, that they actually take that piece in. It may look slightly different, because it's a producer responsibility, but ultimately then not every community is managing multiple, contracts and organizations. So continue lobbying the province to get that included.
Any further questions? All in favor of that motion? That motion's carried. We'll move on to R2.
So could you turn some lights on? I find I'm having trouble seeing my papers today, sorry.
It's my fault, because I'm battling a wicked headache, so I told her to leave them on.
Oh,
So
sorry.
it's my fault, sorry.
That's just one, that's fine now, thank you.
That one too much?
That's fine, is that
That's
okay for
fine.
you, Candace?
Yeah, I'll be fine, as long as you have enough that you
Yeah, I
can see.
just
I'm good.
find I'm struggling a bit to see things, sorry.
Hey, Peter, moving on to R2, 2024-2028 bridge culvert and dam plan.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. So this report is regarding our 2024 to 2028 bridge culvert and dam plan, or also known as the 5-year bridge culvert and dam plan. So this will be the first iteration or first cycle of this plan. And it should be noted that culverts that are 3 meters in diameter and larger are included in this plan because they are considered to be a structure. And the previous version of this plan did not include culverts of that size. Or sorry, did not include dams, but it included bridges and culverts. So this plan also ensures the township is compliant with OREG 588-17 and the requirements to develop levels of service to support the asset management plan and for all core municipal infrastructure assets. The township's 2022 Ontario Structures Inspection Manual report for bridges and culverts and the 2022 dam inspection report, along with site inspections, were all used to complete this plan. So bridges and culverts that are evaluated are given a BCI value, and that which is a weighted average of all of the elements and all condition states. And the BCI ratings range from 100 when a bridge is considered to be new, and theoretically becomes 0 if all the elements are rated as poor. Typically, a rating of 0 is nearly impossible since rehabilitation work is performed or the bridge is replaced prior to that being allowed to happen. Dams are evaluated as good, fair, or poor. And dams with fair or higher ratings typically only require maintenance and or minor rehabilitation, and dams with poor ratings would require major rehabilitation or replacement. This plan will also ensure the life cycle of these assets is being maximized. The typical life cycle of a bridge, culvert, or dam would be 60 to 75 years. It should be noted that the township currently has 4 bridges, 3 culverts that meet the criteria, and 2 dams with a current replacement value of approximately $5 million. As you can see below in the tables through the report, these are the recommended rehabilitation work or maintenance work over the next 5 years. I won't go through them in detail. And there is no planned work for 2028. The financial implications, the capital project costs recommended under the plan will be proposed within the corresponding budget year for approval if feasible. So in conclusion, the 2024 to 2028 bridge, culvert, and dam plan will give the township direction for the next 5 years regarding maintenance and rehabilitation of the bridges, culverts, and dams. And just to recap, we have 4 bridges, 3 culverts, and 2 dams with an approximate value of $5 million. And that is the end of my report.
Thank you, Peter. We have a recommended motion that the council of the township of Asphodel-Norwood receives this report for information, and further that the council of the township of Asphodel-Norwood approves the 2024 to 2028 culvert and dam plan as presented, with the understanding that final approval is achieved annually through the budget process. I have a mover. Councillor Wolf, second by Councillor Hodge Greaves. Any more discussion? All in favor? That motion is carried.
Thank you.
Thanks, Peter. Candace White, CAO Clerk Treasurer, reservicing agreement, Norwood Park,
Thank you.
Phase 4.
Thank you, Mayor.
March.
So on to the next phase for Northern Park Phase 4. Previously in front of council. You have seen this a few times. You have seen we just,
There's a.
it's Halloween thing.
This motion sounds.
Oh,
you
that
walked
Peter
by.
walked in front of, oh, it's Halloween, we have ghosts.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Okay, so council has seen this in front of, this file in front of you a few times now, as there's been an official plan amendment, a zoning bylaw amendment, the public meeting for the subdivision, as well as the consent file, and a preliminary development agreement. So now we are on to the pre-servicing stage of the development, and basically, in a nutshell, what this agreement does is it requires the developer to post 10% of the cost of the on-site public work. So the cost of the work for roads, sidewalks, streetlights, etc., everything that's in Schedule C of the agreement. So if you were to look at the final cost, the 3.9 million approximately, take 10% of that. Obviously, that's 390,000 approximately, and we take that in securities and allow them to move forward with some on-site work. A lot of it is the site, a lot of earth moving, so they have to shape the site to ensure that it can achieve the stormwater management approach, as well as they start installing potentially utilities, underground water main, SANI, storm, etc. All risk associated with entering into a pre-servicing agreement prior to a subdivision agreement being entered into is borne by the developer. They're well aware of this, and we've now done this 4 times with this developer, so they're well aware of the process and the risk that's assumed. The township assumes none. It's all on them, and this is all on site. So nothing is happening on municipal property. This is all work that's occurring on the actual private parcel at this point in time. So essentially, the securities will accomplish a couple of things, but first and foremost, that if something were to happen down the road where the developer was not able to complete the scope of work as per the approved design and drawings by the municipality, etc., then the municipality has those funds to be able to draw on to be able to complete that scope of work as per township expectations. As they move through the process, we relinquish securities back to them, obviously, as all of the infrastructure gets built. We no longer need to keep securities for, say, streetlights when the streetlights are all installed and functioning, or stormwater, etc. But we always maintain a certain percentage after the subdivision agreement is entered into until the warranty and maintenance periods have ended. And at that point in time, all of the securities are completely relinquished, such as Norwood Park Phase 1. You're going to see the assumption package at our next council meeting next week. So that'll be the end, and the maintenance and warranty period has been triggered for Phase 2 already. And we're not quite close enough for Phase 3 yet, but very similar process with securities for all of the phases. Phase 1 is slightly different, but 2, 3, and now 4 all mirror each other essentially.
Okay.
I'll take any questions from council.
Any questions, council? All right, We have a motion that the council of the township of Asphodel-Norwood receives this report for information, and further that the council of township of Asphodel-Norwood authorizes the mayor and clerk to execute a pre-servicing agreement with DPH Developments Incorporated for Norwood Park Phase 4. Moved by Deputy Mayor Burt, second by Councillor Ward. All in favor? Motion is carried. Moving along to R4, 2024 office closure and recognized statutory dates.
Thank you, Mayor. So, housekeeping report that comes forward, late in the year or the subsequent year to determine, statutory holiday dates and office closure dates. So all of them are there in the appendix to the agreement. Except for, November 11th, only occurs if it's on a weekday, so Monday to Friday. It doesn't initiate a day in lieu. So this year it's on a Saturday. So it's not recognized, by the staff, but I think next year in 2024, it's on a Monday, so it would actually be included. And the addition of September 30th for the Truth and Reconciliation Day based on the provincial government making the decision to recognize it, I think on September 28th. To move forward with Truth and Reconciliation Day. Outside of those two items, Remembrance Day's been on there for years, but outside of those two, I guess somewhat changes to approach. Christmas shutdown is the same that it always has been. It fluctuates a little bit based on when 24th and 25th falls. So I think it's December 24th, so Christmas Eve, the office will close at noon. And then it'll open back up again on January 2nd on 2025. And that's it. I'll take any questions or comments from council.
I got a question on Truth and Reconciliation Day. The federal government does do it as a holiday, but not all the province does not do it.
No, not all of the provinces do it.
And-
Ontario does. They put it in September 28th, and the only reason I know that is because my daughter
Yes.
works for the provincial government, and on September 28th, they came down with it. So as I stated in here, they don't do an automatic closure. The provincial government recognizes it for the provincial staff. So
It's-
anything provincial is shut down.
It's the 30th, is it? September 30th?
September
September
30th,
30th.
yeah. They made the decision to recognize September 30th. I think it was on like the 28th of September.
Oh,
something,
you're
like 2
saying
days
They
before.
didn't, okay, I
Yeah.
was confused by
To
that.
close all the provincial offices,
Okay.
on September 20.
Okay.
On September 30th.
Deputy Mayor Burt?
Yeah, that was actually my question too, because I just reached out to the county this morning, because I wasn't sure if they did it.
Yeah.
And they don't, EOWC doesn't, and some other townships don't at this time. So I didn't know, you'd mentioned it came down from the province. I didn't know if it's coming down from the province for all municipalities, or is that a decision each municipality has to make? So I'm a little confused on that.
So each municipality will have to make it, no
Okay.
different than,
Members.
Well,
Civic
in
holiday
Easter
and
Monday.
Easter Monday.
Okay.
So
okay.
Easter Monday isn't a stat, civic holiday isn't a stat, Remembrance Day isn't a
No.
stat. And then obviously the office shutdown in between
Yeah.
isn't stat, that people take vacation for that. I was hoping to reach out to all of the other municipalities in the county. Cause traditionally this report wouldn't come forward till December.
Mhm.
So it's only about a month old since the province made the decision, so the
Yeah.
municipalities haven't been. Yeah, our neighbors haven't addressed this for next year yet, and I don't know what's gonna happen with the union municipalities.
Yeah, yeah.
So-
It'd be nice to see a blanket, to be honest.
You're not gonna see a blanket, we don't see a blanket for
Or we do
Remembrance
it.
Day.
Okay. I just looked at a few townships and, OSM has done it for just the office and landfill. I looked at Cavan Monaghan and they have a kind of a report, and they recognize it as the National Truth and Reconciliation / National Orange Shirt Day. But it isn't a holiday, so I guess I was just curious when I did see that.
I was curious on it too.
Yeah,
Are you gonna be doing an educational day that day?
Yeah,
Just-
I'm a little, yeah. Anyway, I'm a little,
Councillor
no,
Wong?
I'm not sure about that one for myself.
Thank you for your mayor. Yeah, I think that, Truth and Reconciliation Day is a really important day.
Absolutely.
It is.
And I feel, in my own personal opinion, it should be an educational day. Because I think that that's really what we are all trying to come to terms with. And that's just a personal thought. And I really would like to see the county take some lead on this as well. Talking to, you know, the mayor and deputy mayor, that I would really like to hear something back from the county before going forward with just this one particular date at this time.
Right,
Well, we could defer this report, because if it doesn't usually come till December,
Yeah.
we're only in October, we could wait for further information as well.
do that.
If there's,
Motion to defer it, or what's councillor's, feeling here? How do you want to proceed? Councillor Walsh?
I'm kind of like everybody, I'm struggling, I get it, I understand, Truth and Reconciliation Day, I struggle that some will just see it as a day off.
Yeah,
And
that's why I mentioned it in education.
if it's something that was gonna happen that day, that you're gonna take part of the day and mandatory make people take part in something, but I'm just not sure whether just having it as a day off.
That's the same, I guess, approach that other municipalities, most municipalities in the county have taken on Remembrance Day. Now, Remembrance Day has been recognized with this municipality since before even my time here.
Yes.
It's been around for a long time, but it's very similar approach, because not everyone goes and attends a Remembrance Day celebration. That's why we had to clarify it in the working conditions policy, that it's only when Remembrance Day falls on a Monday to Friday, right? And it isn't a lieu day. It's been brought up multiple times, by the staff, and whatever council's wishes are, I'll just be communicated back. It's fine. Whatever.
Councillor Ward?
Thank you for you. I was wondering if we could, accept the closure dates with the exception of, September 30th. And so then we can wait for at least some of these dates.
Signed it, yes.
Yeah, we can move forward on some things and just a deferral on September 30th for this time.
Got no problem with that. Anybody else?
And can we just add to that, the mayor and deputy mayor will, approach the county and, we'll take a look at, what
The rest.
others are doing. Is that
Yes, that
okay?
would be great.
And then maybe at some point, I may bring a notice of motion just to declare that we recognize the day at some point, but we'll see where that lands. I can get the wording for that. But yeah, I would second it with that addition that we will take a look.
Okay, so then, would you like the motion that the council of the township of Asphodel-Norwood accepts this report for information, and further that the council of township of Asphodel approves the 2024 office closure and recognizes the statutory days as recommended, deleting Truth and Reconciliation Day? Does that sound?
I wouldn't say
Until
delete.
Until we-
Until further discussion.
Until further discussion brought forward from county. Everybody happy with that? Somebody like to make a motion?
I did, and deputy mayor second.
Okay, sorry. All in favor of that? Motion's carried. Moving on to our 5 council meeting schedules.
The 2024 council meeting schedule has been presented as per the current procedural bylaw, which is in effect. If council wishes to make any changes to the attached schedule, then an amendment would need to be made to the procedural bylaw, at which time that could be brought back to a subsequent meeting. The schedule is as follows: two meetings are being held in 1 month. The first meeting of the month is electronic. The second meeting of the month is held in person in the Millennium Room or a municipally owned facility. Those meetings in which there is only one meeting of the month, then that meeting is automatically held in person, and your council meeting dates are attached to the report for your consideration.
We have a recommended motion for this too, and that the council of the township of Asphodel-Norwood receives support for information, and further that the council and township of Asphodel-Norwood approves the 2024 council meeting schedule as presented. Can I have a
With
mover,
comment?
Councillor Walsh with a comment, Councillor Ward with a comment? Councillor Walsh.
Yeah, just, I know electronically have been awesome, definitely during COVID, we needed it. And having them now still is a good piece. From the standpoint of we've got an outside consultant, instead of having them, paying them for time and travel to be here, having them doing it electronically actually saves our township money. Would we typically, again, tough question for you, Candace, because you're not gonna be here, but we typically would know a couple weeks in advance. I prefer to meet in person wherever possible,
Yes.
but I also like the flexibility that we right now say we have electronically scheduled for January 9th, but at our December meeting, if we know we have nobody outside coming, can you simply call it that it'll be a meeting in person? Or would we actually have to change our procedural bylaw?
No, you would just have to adopt a motion to state that you're deviating from this motion, which we're gonna chat about in general business. Just based on you guys wanna hold November 14th in person, but it's scheduled as per the procedural bylaw to be by Zoom.
Okay.
Right, since the first meeting of the month, so the motion has to be adopted to deviate from the procedural bylaw in order to host a meeting in whatever format, if it's electronic from in person or person from electronic, whichever it may be, and then appropriate notice has to be given out onto the website.
And that can be done the meeting previous?
Yeah, it can even be done after that, but yes, ideally the meeting previous, so you have a
Would be better,
motion,
and
yes.
then everybody would know. Councillor Ward.
Thank you through you. The challenges of rural internet, fit my household. And so even if we have electronic meeting, I've in the past had to book office space, and it's limited at the township office. The last time I couldn't use the township office because there was no space available. I would like to make an amendment that we make them all in person and so I don't know if we talked about that in general to make that amendment, or when do we do that?
Well, you need to change your procedural bylaw.
Yes,
So the staff report was drafted as per the current procedural bylaw that's in place. If council wishes to change it so you have no means of electronic meetings, then essentially this report would be received for information. You would have to direct me to bring back an updated procedural bylaw that states that all meetings are gonna go in person. That bylaw would then be considered by council. It would be approved. Then a new council meeting schedule would have to be adopted based on the updated procedural bylaw.
Deputy Member?
I think we still need the ability to have electronic meetings. I absolutely do. And I get it. I have the rural internet too, but, and let's face it, we don't have a permanent council chamber, so it makes it difficult to do hybrid meetings. I think once that takes place, which isn't going to happen anytime soon, but when it does, I think we will need the ability to have hybrid meetings as well. So I'm just wondering, is it not easier to keep the procedural bylaw and then change
Just
as needed, or not?
It all depends on how often. So if you take a look at the schedule that's here.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you have
There's 8 electronic.
8
meetings.
electronic.
Cause I agree with Lori, we need to have the
out of the 20.
ability to have electronic. I understand the needs of, the limitations of rural internet. Mine's pretty good for where we are. But I have found, I've enjoyed the presentations that have been done by Zoom. I've actually enjoyed them more so than the ones in person, because I felt the slides were, I don't know, I found they were easier to understand. It was a more direct form, so I understand all sides of it, and we definitely need to keep it in the bylaw that we have the ability for electronic meetings, because if something happened, God forbid, another COVID outbreak or something, we need to
Right.
be able to work remotely. But I do sympathize with Councillor War.
So essentially you're looking at 8 potential changes.
Change.
Versus how many you would have to change if you did them all in person.
Yeah.
back to virtual. The other, yeah, and really the virtual would come into play such as, you know, if a consultant couldn't get here, they wanted to meet virtually, that would be one circumstance. The other one would be this facility. So when the roof's getting replaced, I don't think you're gonna be able to meet here. Like, I don't think you guys will be able, I don't know. I mean, we've chatted about it internally. There's concern about noise and whether we're able to say, okay, can you guys shut down for the afternoon on this date or this date? That's gonna cost, and I don't know the exact timing of that, but I'm assuming it's gonna be in construction season, which is gonna be the summer, which is when you hold your in-person meetings. So I left it as for the procedural bylaw, obviously to spark the conversation, because I didn't receive any direction prior. So I think you're gonna end up either way, you're gonna end up with motions and notices to change the format based on whatever you have going on. When you get a permanent chambers, then I mean, you need to have the means of electronic, but I don't think it needs to be anything more than a means if it arises. But I think next year, you're gonna probably need to tap into that electronic meeting, a fair number of times, just based on this facility alone. Unless you go no YouTube and go to the town hall and forego the YouTube. So it's go to Zoom and keep the YouTube, or forego the YouTube and go to the town hall because the owls won't work there.
Yeah.
So
I do think we need to keep the procedural bylaw as is, go with this, change it as needed. Sorry, Melanie, that might be a little bit extra work for you, but, yeah, I think we need to have that electronic means for meetings. You know, maybe half of those electronic meetings we can do in person, or maybe some of the, you know, the June and July and August, if they're doing the roof, we may have to switch them up, but I think we need to keep it so that we have the means for electronic meetings.
And all you have to do is make a motion at the meeting before and deviate.
Or the mayor can also do that ahead of time, as long as it goes into the website, right?
Right.
yeah, motion is preferred.
Motion is
Yeah.
preferred, okay.
So
Go
what
ahead,
is
Counselor.
it- Thank you through you. What is the time, to change the meeting from person to electronic? Is there a time period that has to be done? Like, you know, when we're having 2 meetings a month, does it need to be 15 days, or does it, you know, what is the,
The meeting prior is the appropriate notice.
Okay.
I mean, and unless it's an emergency or special meeting,
Right.
where you kind of get away from those notice periods, but I think for comfortability purposes, should be the meeting before, unless something. It's
Drastic,
an emergency
yeah.
situation, like Zoom crashes, or you thought you could hold it here, and then something happens and you can't. Something along that line.
And which, like,
Counselor,
which typically we would have a pretty good idea 2 weeks prior.
Well, the action list will tell you.
yeah,
The
right.
action list is gonna help drive.
The
it.
action
We
list
would
will-
know that we either know we need to stay electronically or we can go in person.
Yeah, I would say probably your January 9th and February 13th with budgets being approved. I don't think there's any consultants coming in that I'm aware of, but again, I won't be in the chair to decide that for you, so I don't know. But if I would think that they would be able to be in person,
okay.
But-
Do we have a mover on this? The way it's presented right now?
yeah, yes,
We didn't we? Didn't we?
yeah, it's all done, yeah.
Okay, and all right, then, so we can deviate, as we have said before, the meeting before is the best time to announce it.
Counselor
So-
Walsh and Counselor Ward for the mover and seconder.
All right, so is everybody in favor of this motion then? Okay, motion is carried. Candace, CAO, Counselor Remuneration Bylaw.
Yes, so again, just moved forward to help with discussion. Made a recommendation, based on the recommendations that were adopted in 2022 that were brought forward by Gallagher's, which was a third-party consultant that council adopted an RFP proposal from, and they moved forward with a P55 model at the 2021 level, and we've continued to apply the staff CPI to that. Council needs to look at the remuneration bylaw once per term. And so if council moves forward with the adoption of the 3.5% CPI, kind of following suit with what's happened the last couple of years, the financial impact is there as to what would occur with each position of council. And if council wishes to consider a benefit package, because that was one of the things that wasn't moved forward with out of the consultant's recommendations, that I recommend that you provide direction in 2024 to include this in the proposal for the next renewal that happens in November of each year.
Okay, councillors, that the council of the township of Asphodel-Norwood accepts this report for information, and further that the council township of Asphodel-Norwood approves the CPI increase for the mayor, deputy mayor, and councillor's position at 3.5. I have a mover, Councillor Walsh, and Deputy Mayor Bird. Questions? All in favor of that motion, Mary? Oh, sorry, Councillor.
So the CPI is 3.5 this year, but that'll be, like, it's not locked at 3.5 every year or?
No, the bylaw states it, just the CPI is allocated to the salary grid.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
so
that'll
it'll be-
fluctuate each year, whatever,
Yeah.
okay, I didn't want to lock.
No, it's not locked. No.
Any further discussion? All in favor of that motion? That motion's carried. Management action list.
Okay, so on November 8th, which is next Wednesday, you will see the draft Norwood water and wastewater rates. Baker Tilly will be presenting the financial statements, as well as you're going to see Watson's are going to be here to present the water wastewater connection fees. Assumption reports for Norwood Park Phase 1 that we just chatted about, all the third quarter department reports of public works, building, bylaw, water, wastewater, finance, parks, facility, rec and fire, as well as the medical center final lease. Then on the 14th, the following Tuesday, you'll see a zoning bylaw amendment for Hale. And you'll have 3 public meetings. So there will be the budget public meeting, there will be the development charge mandatory public meeting for the December 12th adoption of the bylaw, as well as at 2:30 the zoning bylaw amendment for Hale. Based on the previous discussion, I was unaware that council wanted to see a change in the November 14th meeting to in person, so consultants were already scheduled for that meeting. Peter at Cisco from Watson's has been so kind, but we are going to request from council that the November 8th meeting be held by Zoom, so he can attend the connection fee and present the connection fees November 8th by Zoom. The auditors would prefer to come by Zoom on November 8th. They had it in their schedule for November 14th. So we've had to do some shuffling. So November 14th can be in person for all of the public meetings, and Peter will drive from Watson's to do that meeting. But November 8th, we had to shuffle things and hoping that council will be so kind as to approve November 8th by Zoom to have the connection fees and the 2022 financial statement presented electronically. But we can discuss that during general business. Then you can see on December 13th, you'll have some zoning bylaw amendments, quite a few. I doubt you're gonna see all of that, but they weren't pushed forward because there was no council meeting agenda approved. But now that that's been approved, we can bump some of those out based on when the county's getting that data back to us to kickstart the 20-day notice period. I believe Pine came back, so I suspect it'll be dealt with on December 13th, but that's the only one that I'm aware of. I'm really, really hopeful that we have the municipal insurance renewal, but I do have a meeting booked with them later this week to chat about where we're gonna land with it, even if they don't have the final big package with all of our policies and everything that we get. Like, it's huge that if I just get the rate, even I just need the rate, which means at least I can complete budget, but you guys will adopt the renewal that'll match the rate, but that'll include all of your policies. And then, two tender awards, the building department hybrid car, as well as the tender award for the generator.
So again, just circle back on that. So when we adopt the budgets on November 14th, you will have a rate
I'll have a percentage increase.
percentage increase.
I'll have a percentage increase. They said that they would likely be, if they didn't have it exactly, they'd be able to give it to me within 2%. So I was comfortable with that. I'll just go to the higher of the two.
Yes.
And then if it comes, so if they're saying 13 to 15, I'll come in at 15. And if it comes in at 13, there's 2% play in the budget.
Okay.
You know, so on $180,000, I have put in 15 across the board, to earmark it. But on $180,000, that 2% would represent like $3,600 in the budget overall, so nothing major. But they may not have the full policy and all the riders and everything that come with that big package. Because we kind of accelerated the timeline, there's no change in coverage per se, other than the cost of inflation has greatly increased, which means the cost of replacement value for all of our facilities, we're looking at more like 5 to 8%, not like the traditional 2% that we've seen. So all of that has to be built in, and that may not be in our hands, which at this point isn't really 100% needed, since there's no major coverage changes occurring. And that's it for me for the action list.
Okay. We have a motion that the Council Township of Asphodel-Norwood accepts this report with the revisions suggested by the CAO, clerk, treasurer, and members of council. Moved by Deputy Mayor Burke, seconder, Councillor Ward. Any questions? All in favor? That motion's carried. That's R7. Correspondence for action, C1, counter rating, water treatment training. What are council's wishes with the request to C1? Councillor,
Really just a comment if I can, Mayor. Candace, can you provide any insight into this? Like, I know they're looking to have it kind of pushed out. Do you have any sort of background information you can share?
It's never been prohibitive to us as a municipality. I don't think I've ever had this conversation with Kyle. I haven't heard this conversation in other areas of my life that I would probably hear about it. But I mean, I think this municipality obviously is experiencing some difficulty, but from our perspective, there's already a lot of flexibility. We've never been able to not get the training required for our staff to be able to renew their licenses. And there is a wide scope of training they can take too. Like, it doesn't all necessarily have to be water, wastewater, like some health and safety stuff is eligible. Like, the eligibility is a bit broad.
Okay.
You can take things online, you can travel, but most often than not, the municipalities in our local area get together and hold them either in Campbellford or Lakefield, and we all kind of go together. So we're only traveling now. Pre-COVID, you know, you were paying for the staff to either go to Walkerton or to go to and stay overnight, and you had hotel stays. But if anything, for us, I think it's gotten easier. Yeah, from my perspective, I'm not to take away from what this community is experiencing. Obviously, it's significant enough for them to put this out there, but I just know internally we're not seeing it.
Councillor Walsh.
So and thank you very much for that. So I think based on your feedback sounds like for our group here and locally here, not an issue. That's not to say that it's not an issue for the town of Rainy River, but I would just put a motion they receive.
Moved by Councillor Walsh. Second by Deputy Mayor Byrd. Any further discussion? All in favor? That motion's carried. Moving on, council's liaison reports. Does anybody have anything they'd like to bring forward? Deputy Mayor Byrd.
Just letting you know, with the library board, there was the big Halloween event at the library on Saturday. And there were 59 kids, 35 families, 2 shifts of events. And there were several volunteers for students. volunteers, three board members and some staff, and it went off very well, as it always does. And a big shout out to Indian River Acres donates a lot of pumpkins. Not all of them, we do buy some, but they give us quite a deal and free delivery of a truckload of pumpkins. And every child takes home a loot bag and their own pumpkin. And again, another great event, full capacity as well. So.
Good. Any other councillors? Councillor Wong?
Thank you, Steve, Mayor. Just a couple of updates. Last night we had, our latest BAC meeting, and it went well. I'll give you a further update, at the next meeting. I didn't have time to make some notes, so I'll provide them at the next, council meeting. We are also, the Cultural and Heritage is teaming up with the, Norwood and District Horticultural Society. And we will be at the Westwood Fire Hall making cedar garland to help decorate the town on Thursday from 1 to 3. If anyone wants to volunteer and come and help, we are still looking for some volunteers to help with that. And then just a reminder that we have November 18th and the 25th and 26th for the old fashioned Christmas event. So thank you.
Okay, Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, just a question on that, Councillor Ward. I noticed online it just had the one weekend. I think it was on the Facebook post or something. Has that been changed or? It's coming. Oh, okay. Okay. No, I noticed that. So, okay, thank you.
Councillor Walsh?
Just a quick reminder, it is Halloween today, so tomorrow night will be pumpkin parade here in town. Drop off locations, reminder, are tomorrow, Asphodel Heights by the mailboxes, in Hamlet Westwood at the library and from the municipal office. And the parade route will be open and going from 5 till 7 tomorrow night.
Okay, very good. That's everything? Councillors, okay, moving on, CAO clerk treasurer's list, please. Let's see.
Just wish to thank the community, the volunteers and the sponsors that supported the murder mystery night. It was a huge success. The final total that was raised will be released later this week. Just waiting on an invoice, but definitely we'll be purchasing some medical equipment with it. With the funds that were raised, the community spirit was strong, that's for sure. And Norwood embraced the 1920, so that was nice to see. So thank you for that, and that's everything for me. Thanks.
And it was a great show put on, and the meal was excellent. General business, does anybody have anything they would like to discuss? November 8th meeting is Zoom, we talked about that earlier.
Yes, just need some motions to, for council to consider, swap.
November 8th and the 14th meeting of public meetings and times. Deputy Mayor Burke.
Yeah, I'll just make a motion to switch to November 8th, which is a Wednesday, so that's a bit of a change, to Zoom, and November 14th, I believe, is the date to an in-person meeting, in-person meeting for.
Right.
What, are they at 1 p.m.?
They are both at
so,
1, they're
yes.
both at 1 p.m., yes.
Seconder for that, Councillor Hodge agrees. Any further discussion? All in favor? Motion's carried. Any other general business to discuss? Councillor Walsh?
It's just really a follow-up. I received a message through, we all did, from a resident up at phase 3 regarding a potential backbridge plant and it shocked me and I did send it off to Candace and kind of shocked everybody, but just kind of what next steps are with that. So
Sure. Meeting with staff, and Electra, I believe the name of the company is, I don't have the paperwork in front of me, but, is Thursday at 2 p.m. in which the staff are going to endeavor to find out the backstory of how we landed to everyone just being, educated via a letter received in the mail with a public meeting scheduled with no outreach communication, anything with the municipality. We have received the slideshow that they're going to be presenting to us on Thursday, and there's a couple of things in there that give me some comfort, and one of them is that they need a municipal council resolution of support. And that zoning, they have TBD on it, and I already know that it's not compliant with zoning, so those two things alone, will be obviously the precipice of the conversation on Thursday, and they'll have to decide whether they move forward with the public meeting on the 15th. So township staff will have a strong presence, obviously, on the 15th, if that, does move forward. Obviously, we can't speak on behalf of council. All we can do is speak on behalf of ourselves, and our message is going to be that staff will not be putting forward a recommendation to council to support a zoning change. To highly recommend that they start the communication process with the municipal level before you go to the public and in advance, so that we're all aware of exactly what's happening, and that you have accurate mapping that you're putting out as to the parcel of property and where you're proposing it to be, because I've got 3 different messages as to where they're proposing to put this facility on the 109-acre parcel.
This company's big enough, you'd think that they know enough.
But we're small, they're big and we're little to them, right?
Deputy Member.
Yeah, just again, on that. I'm glad you were able to get the meeting prior to the public meeting. And it just shocks me how a large company doesn't do their due diligence. Maybe I shouldn't be surprised, maybe I'm naive, but it's shocking that the steps weren't taken before this. And on that, and I guess my fear is, certainly I can't speak for all of council, but I would never want to see that go forward for many reasons, not to let alone our wells and our aquifer, but I guess when you look at the big picture of things, it is kind of shocking that they didn't do the steps going forward. But I guess my fear is, could they utilize an MZO?
Yes,
Yes.
of course they can. Mhm. The only thing is with the IESO, which is like the governing body, they need to achieve a certain number of points, is my understanding. And again, I'll know more to speak about this next Wednesday's meeting, after I have this meeting on Thursday. But my general understanding is they need to acquire a certain number of points, and to achieve the points, to receive what they need, I'll use the word license, for lack of a better term, or permission from the IESO, they need the municipal council resolution. So, because it carries a lot of weight and point value, and they will carry a lot more weight if they get that motion of support before December 31st of this year. So obviously, I would suspect the province is obviously in support, the IESO is in support of these facilities being put. What is concerning is if they wanted to put one of these facilities in Asphodel-Norwood, and why not approach the municipality to determine if there's any industrial lands that would make sense for something of a facility like this to go, because it's going to come across that we don't support it at all when it's a provincial initiative or something that's supported for the economy. Like obviously it's green energy, etc., but that's not the case. We just don't support the process, and we don't support the location and the property in which it's being put on. But because they didn't come to us in advance and actually learn if we had an appropriate parcel of land that we could work with them, because who knows, it could generate jobs, it could generate tax revenue.
Exactly.
There's all of these things, pieces that we don't know, that we would have loved the opportunity to tap into on the appropriate piece of land. So it's just, anyway, but they'll hear all that on Thursday if they don't watch our meeting today.
And I think that, sorry, yeah, Ken, I think that's a disappointing thing. I don't want the thought process of our residents to think that we're not here open arms to having commercial or industrial growth come to our community. It's just
Exactly.
not the right fit.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
right now, where it's sitting, it's just, that's not a good fit.
Not right next to, we're just putting in a brand new subdivision. Literally, we just adopted an agreement to put it right next door to it. I'm sure those,
This isn't the right spot.
yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Yes.
Don't think the new residents would appreciate
I
that very
don't think
much.
they wouldn't either. Okay, that's it for general business. Can I have a motion then, we'll go into close? At 3:04, moved by Stephanie Hodge-Creed and seconder by Councillor Ward. All in favor? Motion is carried. Now back in open session and the time is 3:39. Is there any notice of motions? Seeing none, bylaw 2023-50. Would you care to read, Candace, please?
Being a bylaw to authorize execution of a depot operations agreement between the corporation of the township of Asphodel-Norwood and Circular Materials Ontario, be read for second and third time in numbered bylaw 2023-50.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Burt, second by Councillor Ward. Discussion, all in favor? That motion's carried. Bylaw 2023-51.
Being a bylaw to authorize execution of a pre-servicing agreement between DPH Developments Inc. and the corporation of the township of Asphodel-Norwood, be read for second and third time in numbered bylaw 2023-51.
Moved by Councillor Walsh. Second by Councillor Hodge-Greaves. Any discussion? All in favor? That motion is carried. And 2023-52.
Being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the regular meeting of the council of the township of Asphodel-Norwood held October 31st, 2023, be read for second and third time in numbered bylaw 2023-52.
Moved by Councillor Ward. Second by Deputy Mayor Burt. Any discussion? All in favor? That motion is carried. Future meeting schedule is there. Everybody has seen it. We've discussed it. And I'll now ask for a motion for adjournment. Moved by Councillor Ward. Second by somebody. Mayor, Deputy Mayor Burt, all in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you.